Don't forget to check out the weekend roundup where Abby is full of smiles this week because Tottenham won. AGT is beaming because Liverpool are back. Matisse is upset because Chelsea lost again. And
we also catch Robbie out in 4K. Trust me, you do not want to miss this one.
I'll tell you, man, they fixed it up. They fixed it up. Check out the weekend roundup today.
Welcome back to DR Sports and the roast of Chelsea. Sorry, it's talking tactics today. I got carried away because the section we have planned on your club, my friend,
oh dear.
We have a lot to talk about. You haven't even seen what we've prepped. It's not that much, but we have to have a serious discussion about your club. Yeah. We have to have a serious discussion about Chelsea. I'll quickly ask how you are. How are you, Matisse? My good friend Matisse.
Terrible. Never come into onto a talking tactics in any state worse than this. Is
this the worst you felt coming on to talking tactics?
100%.
You know, the
100%.
worst I felt this season was Thursday, and there was no room in the schedule for a talking tactics.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you, Arsenal.
This is bad.
I might not feel the same next Monday.
I feel like I've been cheated on this weekend. I feel hungover. I haven't even drank that much.
Oh God. Okay, let's get into it. We're not even going to talk about the game. I'm not even going to try and tactically analyse how and why Southampton. You can if you want. How and why Southampton stopped Chelsea. I want to look at the bigger picture here, because you can't spend 600 million and get worse. Well, you can.
You can.
But that just shouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try. Sorry, because Chelsea fans, if you are watching this, I don't want you just clicking off and going, look, I'm not here to just get torn apart. No, we're going to have a serious discussion. I'm having my fun because, as I've mentioned in previous videos, Chelsea tormented my childhood. See how other fans talk about, like, Tottenham are our rivals, but Man United tormented their childhood or whatever. Yeah. No, it was Chelsea for me. Man United I just always knew were good.
Yeah.
Tottenham were our rivals, so I had to hate them. But Chelsea, I went to school with so many Chelsea fans.
Drogba.
That's
all I have to say.
That man.
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Ruined, but all of them, Ballack, that SEN goal, so many moments, Frank Lampard, John Terry. So I have a particular, dark place in my heart for Chelsea. But like I said, I want to be fair. So let's go into it. I just want to put up some numbers just to look at the big Chelsea Potter situation and then try and actually understand where things have gone wrong. And at the end of this, come to a conclusion. Should Potter be sacked? Chelsea Potter's numbers, 25 games together, 9 wins, 9 defeats, 7 different formations used, 25 goals scored, 24 goals conceded, games with 3+ Chelsea goals scored, only twice. I think that was Wolves at home and AC Milan at home. I did this research very quickly in the morning, so if I've missed any out, I'm pretty sure it's all spot on. Number of times the same 11 has been used in back-to-back games, not once. Number of times he's made 2 changes or less from a lineup, 6 times.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's meant to be 3 changes or less. My bad. So only on 6 occasions has he actually changed 2 or 3 players or more in the starting 11. He's used 32 players. And in the 21 games in which he had Jorginho, he started in 15 times. Let's go to some more stats because I've got them all here. A long one. His managerial record at Swansea, 1.45 points per game. Obviously that includes the cup games as well. So a point for a draw, 3 points for a win. 1.28 for Brighton, 1.36 for Chelsea. So it's around that kind of mid-table-ish level, with all due respect. Players used, 31 players used in 51 games for Swansea, 74 players used in 134 games for Brighton. He's used more players at Chelsea than he's played games.
Yeah.
I understand that there's going to be questions about Graham Potter. Hell, I brought it up last week. I have questions about the way he conducts himself, sure. But I don't believe Chelsea have given him anywhere near an environment, bar spending a load of money on a load of really good players, supposedly. I don't know what Chelsea have done to give him the kind of environment that is conducive to a quick upturn in results.
I think I would agree with you. I would say that just because you spend a lot of money in a short space of time, especially mid-season, and you bring in a load of players that usually you would do that in the summer, in a pre-season, and then you would integrate them like that. To do that mid-season and have to integrate them in competitive game against a very difficult Premier League is not easy. I would also say that there's some games you just absolutely have to win if you are to continue, not only in your job, but he's been given the backing by the board as of this morning. Yeah. I think just to keep the players as well on side. Now, when you have a group of 35 players, and I think we spoke about this before, when you've got a group of 35 players, someone's feelings are going to get hurt. There is going to be unrest, and it is going to be a lot of players being used, and it is going to be very difficult to establish any clear identity from game to game, especially if you have a lot of injuries, which we've had, and they're now coming back. And you're just not able to see maybe from one game to the next a clear identity with all of those changes. But like I said, Southampton at home, bottom of the league, managerless. Yeah. You have to win that game. And there's no excuse for that because you have the quality of players available. He had to make changes to that lineup due to injuries or medical team advice. A lot of players were rested in Thiago Silva and Reece James, etc. But Chelsea against Southampton, pressing from the front, disjointed. Southampton, walked through that press easily. So there's no clear pressing technique that's been built up over time. At least it didn't show in this game. In the midfield, it was ran through with a very imbalanced Cover and Enzo pivot, and Mason Mount on the left wing, which we've spoken about Mason Mount many times on this show. Out of position again, didn't contribute anything. But at this point, can I blame him when he's playing as a left winger when he's not? And then defensively in the build-up phase, it was awful. Very lopsided. Right-hand side had nothing to offer. Koulibaly rash gets booked. Azpilicueta, he's now recovering, thankfully, but was poor in terms of that. And then the left-hand side, even Badiashile was making mistakes. So from across the board against Southampton, Chelsea were poor, and they got outplayed in the first half by Southampton. Now, Southampton are actually a very good team. And I've said it before, they beat City in the Cup, they drew with Arsenal. When they actually decide that they're going to express themselves and play, they've got something to offer.
What did we say a couple of shows ago? They're the kind of team that every time I watch them, I'm impressed. And then I look at their league position, they're 19th.
Yeah, and that's
always.
But
always
that's you can't underestimate them. So upon the medical team's advice, it seems like he had to make those precautions. But some of his in-game decisions, I mean, for me, starting Azpilicueta over Trevor Chalobah at right back doesn't make sense because Trevor was playing before Reece James was fit and playing well. And equally, not bringing on Kai Havertz for Fofana and having no striker to the point where I'm seeing Mason Mount go up for headers. That is confusing, conflicting, doesn't make any sense. And it's a sackable setup and it's a sackable performance, really.
The whole thing is a disgrace. And you're right, he should be winning that game. But we said the same about Arsenal. They should have beaten Burnley at home, regardless of what players are available. Your 11's better than their 11. But football so much now is about systems. It's about structure. By the way, I'm not saying Graham Potter should keep this job. He's doing it. He's having a shocker. But I truly believe this is the discussion now. Should Graham Potter be sacked? I'm not saying this as an Arsenal fan who's obviously enjoying the fact that Chelsea are struggling. I'm saying this genuinely as someone who's trying to look at the position they're in, the situation, understand what's wrong. I think there's far too much we don't know about what happens at Chelsea to actually come to a fair conclusion about whether this is all on him or not. And I'll just take it back to that last graphic. For example, look at the amount of players used. What if he got criticised for rotating ahead of Southampton? People would think I'm crazy, right? What if Todd Bowley said to him, you're going to get this season, like almost no matter what, but as long as you don't finish 15th, we're giving you this season. And he's thinking, all right, well, I'm going to try different things. I'm going to try 7 different formations. I'm going to use 32 different players. I'm going to try Enzo with Kovacic, and then Loftus-Cheek with Enzo, and then Kovacic with Jorginho. Oh, he's been sold. Was that my decision? It's been made for me, but they've given me Enzo. Cool, now I have to work him into the 11. Where's the best way to use him? Should I use Cucurella as a left centre-back or as a left winger? Who's even my best left-back? Is it Havertz who links up better, or Aubameyang who's a better finisher? What if he's being told that he's got the time to figure these things out?
He has definitely got the time. I think when you give a manager...
So what if he rotates? This is a write-off for Chelsea, surely,
the season is already a write-off. Right. I think people just want to know that we're going to be safe. We haven't got 40 points yet. So you have to win games.
You're going to be safe.
This is my point, James.
You still won 9. You actually had a good upturn in form Monday.
We're in relegation form. In terms of our recent form, I think it has us around 15th. We are losing at home to statistically, on paper, the best fixture you can get in a Premier League campaign right now, which is a Southampton team who's bottom of the league, managerless.
At home.
And you're at home.
Yeah, you're right. It could be better, yeah.
And on top of that as well, it's a must-win because you are in poor form. So you don't even have the safety net of being overconfident because you know that you need to win that game. So we have to get to the 40-point mark. Now, there is a cut-off point for me where if he continues to keep losing games, I mean, I was very reactionary. Potentially, some people will say after my post-match against Southampton, when I said that he should resign, I asked him, can you please resign? Because we can't afford to sack him. He's on a 12 million per year contract over 5 years, 60 million.
Yeah.
He cost 22 million, I believe, release clause from Brighton. So that's 82 million. And his staff were appointed with clauses and obviously wages to add on top of that. So he's a very expensive manager with a lot of time.
Oh, you put everything in Potter.
So we financially, I don't think we can sack him. That's why I said, can you please resign? But I agree with you. We don't have every stone unturned. We haven't given him a pre-season. He hasn't had the start of the season. He hasn't trimmed the squad down to a normal size to work with. He hasn't had the Enzos and Felix playing for a 10-game stretch where you can fairly judge the new signings in January. But if we continue to keep losing matches, and there's no suggestion that won't happen because we're playing like how we just did. I mean, it was dreadful, awful. Everything that had been done in the West Ham and Dortmund game was completely vanished in this match. And yes, we can be unlucky against West Ham with a handball, and we can be unfortunate here against Dortmund with chances, and our XG can be, of a certain level, and we can miss 3. We can only, put away 3 maybe out of the last 16 big chances or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, results. It is still a results business. No matter what project process you're on, you have to win some football matches. That last game was a must win. If you continue to keep losing and we are getting closer to the relegation zone, and there is a question, it should not even be a question, but if there is a question of a relegation fight, we will have no choice but to sack him, regardless of what that means financially going forward. So,
of course, if there's a legitimate
there's always a cut-off
fear,
point.
if there's a legitimate fear of relegation. Look, even for Chelsea, I think if there's a legitimate fear of finishing below 12th, 13th, then it starts to get really embarrassing, if it's not even embarrassing now. But these are the questions I want to ask. The signings you made in the summer, do you believe that Todd Boehly made those signings for Thomas Tuchel?
I think Todd Boehly, it was a very messed up market because they had no networking done, no strategy going in because they had no recruitment team, no knowledge of the game. So they put Tuchel in a position that he didn't want to be in, which was director of football. Who do you want? Build the team in your image, which most people would say that's a manager's dream, but some managers actually just want to manage the team. They don't want that extra responsibility, that extra stress, especially when you've managed sanctions there before that. And that's also a very stressful period where Chelsea can't even afford plane tickets and mega stores closed. So he's already had a very stressful campaign. Then going into a summer with more responsibility is not ideal. He would prefer a recruitment team around him. So they're chasing targets. They get who they get. Whether you wanted De Ligt, whether you wanted Nathan Ake, it was all over the place. Rafinha, no one knows. But you get what you get. A lot of those players were instant. They're meant to be instant impacts. Sterling's, Aubameyangs, Koulibaly's of an older age range. Cucurella, Player of the Year. Because Chelsea had lost on free transfers, Christensen, Rudiger, Lukaku had left, and Timo Werner. So you have to replace seniority with seniority.
Right.
And they want to remain in the top 4 at that point.
Sure. So they did something. They pulled something together. Fine. I mean, Cucurella 60 million, but whatever. You get to January. Do you believe those signings were for Graham Potter? Do you believe that Todd Boehly said to Graham Potter, what would you like in this squad? Who would you like to keep? What would you like to add? And we will make that happen for you.
I believe that Potter's role is not what Tuchel's role was, which was tell us what you want. I believe that they put together a recruitment team in his image. They literally brought a head of recruitment from Brighton, who he's already worked with in his image.
Fair enough.
And he will be the mediator between Potter on the training pitch as a coach and the board of directors, and he will be the go-between to say, this is what Potter likes, this is what he doesn't, this is what his system is about. I've worked with him at Brighton, this is how he plays. And then the scout team, which is Christopher Vell and others, Joe Shields, all of these people coming in from Leipzig, Southampton, built in the image of a progressive, forward-thinking manager, which I think is all you kind of need to be at this point to have that kind of recruitment team. If you're not a Simeone, you're not a Conte, most managers who want to play a progressive, attacking brand of football, press from the front, all of these things are pretty similar to translate from manager to manager, Ten Hag's to Pep's, etc. It's not a vast difference.
No, yeah.
So the pool of players, especially when they're young and developing and talented or technical, you're looking at similar players. Mudryk, we both went for Mudryk, right? Mm-hmm. So I do believe they're bought for him, yes, because they're representing him. You don't do that otherwise. You don't bring him in.
So
on a
this is what I'm trying
to.
This is what I'm trying to understand. As you know, this isn't like I'm not trying to trap Graham Potter or Todd Bowley or whatever by asking these questions. There will be viewers watching this that don't actually understand the ongoings behind the scenes. What I see of just through a scroll through Twitter and ultimately seeing who you sign is what looks to me a very scattergun approach. But fair enough. They've got a guy in from Brighton who understands what Potter wants and they're building for that in his image. In which case, when I get to this squad here, which I just want to show you, this squad here looks completely and utterly imbalanced to me. I mean, you lost Jorginho. I don't know if that's exactly what he would have wanted. You know,
is this the holding midfielder?
Yeah.
This ruins me. You've got to swap that.
Zakar.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And Kante in here. Yeah.
But you know what? I put Kante in there, right? Just to be like polite.
No.
Because I even think Zakariya
you
is
can
more
almost
box-to-box.
make a case that there's nobody in this box.
But that's I chuck Kante into the kind.
You can almost make a case to say there is nobody in that box. There is no Casemiro or Rodri or
forget
Partey
it. Let's do it.
Or Jorginho or anyone because Jorginho has been sold.
Yeah.
So Zakariya is kind of a player that he's had a massive injury over the last couple of years at Mönchengladbach. I'm not sure what his actual position is. Is he more of a box-to-box or is he more of a sitter?
Sure.
I personally think that he could go in that box and he is more of a sitter. I wouldn't trust him in the final third. I think if you're going to be a box-to-box midfielder, you actually need to be good in both boxes by definition. Or you at least need to have the kind of capacity to contribute in the final third, which Kante shows at times with his dribbling and his ball carrying and his low sense of gravity. But you're right. There's no balance here. So whatever partnership at the moment you put with Enzo outside of Zakariya, in my opinion, is an imbalanced one and is a partnership that is very easy to play through. And we saw it in the midweek game against Dortmund with the counter attack, Enzo versus Ademi, and it was an absolute. It was awful. It was destroyed.
You've also got the issue with the three strikers. I mean, you spend 600 million, and okay, Broja's injured in fairness. Aubameyang doesn't seem to be favoured, but he has struggled really in English football for a good 2-3 years now. Felix, who plays a false 9, but he's using him as a 10. Your biggest investment was Mudryk on the left wing, but Sterling came. Okay, Sterling can play on the right, but we know he prefers on the left. It's the total imbalance, the word you use. So the conclusion I'm trying to come to at the end of this Chelsea section, all eyes are on Potter, and everyone's blaming him.
Eyes need to be on the board as well.
Well, they're saying, Todd Bowley spent 600 million. He's been backed, blah, blah. But look at the squad that's been left. It's not bad. There's very good players in there. There's some players I'd love to have at Arsenal. But there's also...
We're actually missing some players. We have more than this.
Well, yes, that is true. I didn't include the loan players.
No, not even the loan ones. I'm talking about... to be fair, like Lewis Hall and Carl Chukwuemeka, they are first team players now.
Yeah, Lewis Hall, Chukwuemeka, you're right. I don't know, Chukwuemeka I think is somewhere in here. But anyway, but my point is, I got rid of Jorginho. Well, I swear I had Chukwuemeka in there. Kukurea, no, I forgot him. Oh well. The point I'm trying to make is, this is the issue for me. It's actually the group that's been left behind. And so responsibility lies on who put this together. Now, if Todd Bowley said, here's 600 million, okay, how much did he get in January? 250.
Yeah, I mean, Nkunku, Gusto are part of that 600 million. They don't join until the summer.
Cool.
Some of that 600 million is from the summer, just gone in Koulibaly, Sterling, Kukurea.
Cool. So let's call
whatever the figure is.
200 mil, whatever
it is, right?
Let's say Todd Bowley went to Graham Potter and went, here's a big pot of cash. You can use £1 of it if you want. You can use 50 million, you can use
Let's say
300
million.
You can use whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's up to you. And then he delivered that, then the responsibility is on Potter. Todd Bowley's done his job. He supported the manager that he's brought in, and you can't question him. It's on Graham Potter to deliver. And that includes the scouting team and the people around him and everyone that comes together to go with Graham Potter and all the different heads to go, this is what I want to build. If it's Graham Potter, you just work on coaching. Football Manager tells me Enzo's a good player. The Chelsea fans on Twitter want him, so here we go. We'll give you Enzo, whatever it's going to take, 100 million. Oh, you know what? Arteta wants Mudryk, so we'll come in for him. Oh, but I was in the middle of negotiations with Madueke, so you know what? We'll give you both. Then it's on the ownership. And I know Potter should do more. I know it's Southampton at home. I know it's managerless, bottom of the league, Southampton at home. I get that. But sacking him, for me, would just be the ownership neglecting their responsibility. They're the ones that delivered this group to him.
They can't sack him. They won't sack him. And for financial reasons and for their own, like you said, their own policies and what they've put in place and what they want at the football club in terms of long-term manager, in terms of, overhauling the squad, in terms of actually you've bought into this man, literally, you've put your money where your mouth is with that 5-year contract, with that massive wage to make him the 4th highest earning coach in the league, higher than Ten Hag, below Conte, Klopp and Pep. You have no choice but to stick by him. Yeah. And like I said, they will and have to up until it gets to relegation talk. Because if it does get to that conversation, then everything goes out the window. All logic, all context. At that point, you have to just cut ties, because then you're playing with your Premier League position, and that is something that you cannot play with. That would be one of, if not the most embarrassing relegation from a football league in the history of the sport.
It will be, yes, it will be the most...
Categorically, the most embarrassing relegation I've ever seen in football. I couldn't
agree more. I just think...
I get what you're saying. You got to give him more time. You got to ride the wave. If you got to get to the summer, you've got to clear a lot of this. If Ziyech is making a last-minute move to PSG, he's got to keep moving out on the door. But the thing is with Graham Potter, which is another thing that people will come into, is that he's got to make a decision. Is he going to play the young players and the players that are 100% going to be here next season, or is he going to try and get results? And if you're going for results, you play Aubameyang, or you at least have him on the bench. If he's not your tailor-made striker for your system, for your setup, for your identity, you have him on the bench to get you a goal against Southampton so you don't lose that game. You have a get-out-of-jail pass. If you're not going to do that and it's not based on results, then you've got to play the young players. And we've seen Ziyech start. 24 hours after, 48 hours after almost going to PSG. So you have to pick one or
that tells you everything. And that's why I asked this question. I think to bring it all around, it goes back to what I said earlier, which is we know very little actually about, or at least I knew going into this, and you've enlightened me a bit about the runnings at Chelsea, who runs who makes what decisions. I'm still a little concerned about some of that. But what I see here is the amount of money spent and no trusted number 9. I then see Ziyech, you're right, was on the brink of going to PSG starting games. I see no depth or actual dependable number 6 in the absence of Jorginho. And then I see, it's not a problem. You've got great depth, Mudryk and Sterling, but arguably 2 players that have come for a lot of money, can both be looked at as the main guy, would be wanting to be playing in the same position roughly.
I think their plan for the follow, because we continuously keep getting linked to strikers, and Manchester City fans kept saying that Sterling performs best with a striker. The idea would be that he would move over to the right. Ziyech would not be here, and you would have an Ivan Toney or whoever they plan on getting in the striker role, because we've seen Sterling can produce a lot from the right-hand side. But in the short term, when we're trying to get results, what is going to be the plan, and how are Chelsea going to play? Because like I said to you, against Southampton, from back to front, it was a mess. No press, no control in the midfield, no recycling of the ball to try and get through periods of the game and try and keep possession, bide your time. And defensively, we conceded, and we should have conceded more if it wasn't for Kepa.
Do you know what I honestly think you should do? So I'm going to move on now, but what I honestly think you should do is, of course, as long as it doesn't get to 13,
this conversation
14,
between
15.
us could change in 2 weeks. If he loses the next 2 games, and we are in there.
As long as it doesn't get to you're legitimately in that scrap, which would be mad. I honestly believe we've seen his track record. He's done well. He did very well at Brighton. He's built teams that can play brilliant, brilliant football. Give him to the summer. Just see this as a total write-off. And I know Chelsea have higher expectations and all that, fine. But if you want to be a project club that wants to have long-term sustained success in the way Liverpool have done it, the way Arsenal are trying to do it, and all these clubs, United try and do it, I think you give him to the summer, you get rid of a load of these players, you add 2 or 3, you bring back Levi Colville, you have Nkunku arrives, you get in a specialist defensive midfielder, and then you just let him try and work with that through the summer, and you just trim it down massively, give him a striker, and then go from there. But look, we spent a lot of time on that, everyone. I just think the Chelsea dilemma is what's going on, I think had to be explored. And I'll ask all of you in the comment section, where's the blame? You know, is this a Todd Bowley thing? You know, you're right. Did he try and sell Ziyech when he didn't want him? Because then he starts the next game, and then he sells Jorginho, but Jorginho started 15 of the 21 games under Potter. So is it a Todd Bowley thing? Is it the recruitment, not getting the right players for Potter? Or is it Potter, you know, signing off on players coming to the club that actually have just built a very imbalanced squad, where you're going with Kovacic and Enzo as your double pivot, as you've mentioned, Matisse, when ultimately they're two of the same player. And it kind of feeds on nicely into a really big result for Nottingham Forest. And the draw they got with City did Arsenal a massive favour. But again, I just want to show here how they had a very similar thing. 30 signings, £163 million spent, a lot of players through the door. People think, what's going on there? Is this the owner just playing Football Manager? What's happening? And their record, pre-Steve Cooper being given a new contract, which was Nottingham Forest saying, we're backing you, you're our man, was 1 win, 1 draw, and 6 defeats and 8. Since that contract being signed, them saying, you know what, we're going to back you, you're our guy, and we're sticking to our guns, something I think Chelsea should do. They've gone on to win 5, draw 6, and lose just 4 of the 15 games they've played. They've gone from 19th to 13th. There is merit in sticking by your guy, even if it looks like the squad's a total mess, even if it looks like they don't have a clue what they're doing. Sometimes a little bit of continuity.
What I called for last week was stability. Chelsea have had staff in and out the door, players in and out the door, and ownership now also in and out the door. Managers, and there's been no period of stability.
But I agree.
A game against Southampton really does.
I hear you.
Really
I get it.
Really does make you flip sometimes.
Listen, I felt the same on multiple occasions with Arteta. I thought, I am done. You cannot be losing this game of football with the players you've got. But sometimes it can get like that. Let's talk about Nottingham Forest. Fair play to them. I mean, City missed 5, 6 massive chances. But I'm really impressed with their turnaround.
I am. I think for Nottingham Forest, they clearly bought in a lot of players at once, which was always a gamble. We've seen it many times before. Teams have been relegated purely based on the fact that they've recruited too many players. Watford is a great example of that. They used to just buy in players, sack managers, left, right, and centre. There was no stability whatsoever at that club. They were like the mini Chelsea in terms of what their model was, only to get out of relegation scraps. And Nottingham Forest I think they've kind of just quietly gone about their business actually, not in the transfer window clearly, but just in terms of results. They've just been going along the way, picking them up. And we always said, when you look at that relegation zone, you go from Southampton at the bottom, who are still at the bottom despite winning this weekend, and you go all the way up to about 13th. The gap is like 6 points, nothing more than that, maybe 7 at a push. And whoever builds up a little bit of momentum and gets a little bit of form together, or shows some signs of recovery, is going to move up that table like lightning. So,
completely agree.
Someone always had to get it done, and it's ended up being Nottingham Forest. They brought some good players. And now it's starting to show. And obviously, Chris Wood is another one of those new players, and he ends up getting the goal.
And look, City did miss a whole host of chances, but you stick in there, you ride your luck a little bit, and a little bit of quality to make the goal happen. Morgan Gibbs-White, who, look, did they overpay? Maybe, but he's stepping up for them. They're showing for a big squad and a new team, new to the Premier League, with a load of new players coming in. I don't know what Steve Cooper's doing, but he's clearly getting them all to listen, because whoever he deploys out there, they're doing a job for him. So fair play to Nottingham Forest. We've skimmed past Nottingham Forest a little bit there, but I wasn't able to watch the game, of course. It was a 3:00 game, but we just wanted to give a little bit of credit for the turnaround. Let's now talk about Marcus Rashford.
Wow.
Because United are flying. And I think everyone is rightly giving Ten Hag the credit he deserves. Has he got everything spot on since he arrived at United? I think I question the Antony signing. And I think...
the value for money.
Yeah. I think other than that, I can't really think of anything he's got wrong. I mean, obviously he lost the first 2 games of the season. But Ten Hag and United are doing some really special things. Marcus Rashford's form, though, is coming as a bit of a surprise to everyone, probably because of this. The fact that in 21-22 season, he got 5 goals and 2 assists. But actually, he has been a high output player ever since he walked into this Man United team.
I mean, Rashford is inevitable. This celebration is doing the rounds across the world. regardless of whether he started it or not, remains the question because he's got it trending again. Do you know what I mean? He's put some stamp on it, and you now know going into every Man United game he is going to score. It doesn't matter whether he's playing the 9, whether he's playing left wing, whatever tactical system that Ten Hag has told him this is where you're going to play. Weghorst is going to play as a 10 today. He's going to drop a bit deeper for reasons on the press and what we're going to do to stop the other team playing out from the back. Whatever have you will. Because obviously, I think in the last game he pushed Fred a bit higher to really, get onto the press, and then he didn't really trust Weghorst as much. I think it was Kessie. Weghorst was assigned to Kessie, and Fred was assigned to De Jong because that was more of the very important need to press him and to stop him playing. So he'll mix everything else up in behind him in terms of that. And we've seen Sancho's only now just coming into the team. Anthony's not being firing, but Rashford is just a constant. Every single game, whenever he gets a sniff, he just delivers. And it's nice to see for him because I think him, Saka, Sancho in particular, they've had a rough time and they've managed to respond and kind of
Lovely
rise
goal
up.
for Sancho.
Yeah, lovely goal for Sancho. But Rashford is just on another level right now. He's one of the most informed players in Europe. And I mean, I just have to sneeze because he's taken my breath away.
Well saved.
What a save.
Well saved. I just think, look, in this time he's played some Europa League football as well. Don't get me wrong, and I think 5 or I think 9 of his goals this season have come in the EFL Cup or in the Europa League. But I don't want to take anything away from him. I'm just mentioning that as context. He has been a high output player. He walked in, he scored 2 goals against Arsenal, unbelievable, and he kept scoring goals. In that season, he got 12 goals and 2 assists. Yeah. Unreal return. He then responds with 11 goals, 7 assists, 13 goals, 9 assists in 17-18, 13 goals, 10 assists. It's going up. I think maybe was that a bit of a drop? Anyway, 19-20, 22 goals, 12 assists, then another 20 plus goal season with 21 goals, 15 assists. Then the drop last year.
Massive drop.
Nightmare. All focus on Cristiano Ronaldo, all focus on Ralf Rangnick, all focus on the Glazers and the mess around the club. He then had injury problems. I think he started the season a bit injured, came in a little bit late, couldn't get to full form, played on the right, played on the left, a little bit of a mess. Sancho came in, he's better on the left, so where do you play Rashford, whatever. And then in this season, 24 goals and 8 assists already. He might legitimately get to 40 goals in all competitions.
Yeah.
Genuinely. He's still got the FA Cup.
Yeah.
You've still got
Europa
the
League.
Carabao Cup final. You've still got the Europa League
and
to go far in. And I don't know if that includes his England goals. There's 3 at the World Cup. You can chuck those in there.
Yeah.
27. He's unbelievable. And
all types of goals as well. Headers.
Yeah, runs in behind, headers,
carrying the ball.
from distance against Arsenal.
Yeah.
And do you know why? Again, as an Arsenal fan, I can hate on this. I could if I want. But this is a guy who genuinely has used his platform as a footballer for good. He has used the reach he's got to have a real impact in a way that's really personal to him, but also affects millions around the country. He is a player who, in his bad times, sure, he's quite open, he speaks out, he's done interviews, he's spoken about situations, on a footballing level as well. Sometimes some people like to do the whole, stop talking, play your football, whatever.
Yeah.
But he backs himself, he backs kind of his beliefs, and he backs himself as a person. Cecil's worked with him as well because he's done body doubling for him. Says he's a top guy.
Yeah.
And look, I don't want rival players doing well, but if there's any I would wish good on, it's Marcus Rashford because A, for everything I've just mentioned as a person, but B, because actually we should be giving him so much more credit than he deserves, than he's been getting for the numbers he's putting up. Yeah. These are extraordinary numbers.
I'm quite surprised because you wouldn't think that these are the numbers he's been putting up. So I'm quite surprised to see them because it's very consistent in terms of the output, like you said.
How old is he?
I think he's 24, 25 now. I think the key for him and Man United now is to get him a new contract because he's running out in 18 months, I think, something around that. To get him tied up to a new contract. And it just goes back to the whole, for me, where would the goals come from? Ronaldo conversation. There you go. Yeah. There's the goals. Do you know what I mean? And this is with Martial injured as well, who's been consistently injured, but there was a player in there somewhere. Teams will always find a way to get goals elsewhere if there's confidence and quality and ability if you take away one main man, so to speak, who everybody's resting their laurels on. There was goals before he came to United, and there's goals after, and Rashford stepped up.
No, fair play to him. Absolutely fair play to him. Let's talk about some starting 11s from the weekend. I'll let you pick. Shall we go in Newcastle? By the way, what was Nick Pope doing? Blimey.
I mean, yeah, a lot of people feel sorry for him because he's going to miss the cup final, but it was a bonehead moment.
I don't feel sorry for him. What's he doing?
Shocking decision to come out there and then to try and claim it when you should have just stuck,
Your team are 2-0 down early in the game.
Yeah.
Keep composure. If Arsenal had done that, the media would be tearing into him.
100%.
For some reason, there's this, poor guy, let him play the final. Sorry, I'm not with that.
No.
He's made a massive error. And they're punished for it. Yeah. I want to talk about Liverpool because they've had their problems, and we've discussed it on this show. But Van Dijk comes back. They restore Fabinho, Henderson.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're looking at a little bit of experience. Some players have been there and done it.
Yeah, he's actually recently, last couple of games, he's gone back to this, and obviously no Thiago, and it's just, Bajitic has made a massive difference. Yeah. He's the one with the legs. He's the one that's press resistant as well, but has the energy. Could cover the ground, and they used to play him in the DM role, and I said it before, I feel sorry for him because he's kind of having to anchor and hold everything together, and he's not getting any help from Thiago alongside him. He's not tracking runners, and I think it was Keita who was playing, and Keita's he's been inconsistent mainly due to injuries as well. And now that they've kind of freed him up a little bit, but kept him because they had to keep him in midfield. He's been the only shining light in their midfield at 18 years old, I believe, or 19 for the last month. But now, somehow, they've managed to get him in there whilst going a little bit more defensive, but Fabinho and Henderson, and the performances look a lot more stable now. I'll call it that. I won't say that their performances have been, one of the back to the old Liverpool. I'm not saying that there's not going to be more hiccups incoming, but there's players coming back with Jota and Firmino. The defense is still going to have its questions, going forward. They're going to have to show that they can keep these clean sheets going back to back. They've come up against two attacks that in Everton, who we don't rate their attack very highly, and then Newcastle have been struggling for goals. So we're going to see if they continue to do that when they come up against higher quality attacks. But it's a step in the right direction for them.
I just think, and we did say this on a few shows a while ago, and I'm not trying to sit here and big myself up, but I was looking at Liverpool 11 a while ago and saying, this looks so far from a Klopp 11. Yeah. He needs to try and go back to it. And I understand when things are going badly, you make maybe one change here, then two changes, then you make another change. Next thing you know, 5-6 positions don't look familiar to you with the players that are in there, the way you use them. Harvey Elliott, wide left, Keita in the team, having not been a constant before, Bajcetic in the holding midfield position, Milner right back. And then actually, sometimes when you go that far away from it, and then you get something like Van Dijk returning from injury, you just go, let's just pull this, let's just rein this all the way back in to what we know. That looks like a Liverpool team that you can trust to go and do something, to perform, to not be a total shambles like they have been most of the season. So fair play to them. Yeah. Let's talk about the Tottenham-West Ham game.
So defensive.
But again, so what did you make of this 11 from West Ham?
When I take a look at that midfield, it just screams no ambition whatsoever to create chances and to be in any way, shape or form get a goal or try and get a result here. You're playing for a point before you've even walked out on the pitch with a midfield like that. Now, I know Paqueta's out, so there's some of your creativity. I spoke to Dan Lawless, who was on the show when we covered the game here on DR. He was saying that Fornals would have potentially been an option to add something different into that midfield. They didn't go with that. They went with this 3-5-2 with the two wing backs. It just didn't. To be fair to West Ham, they weren't awful. I think they created chances in the first half. Yeah, they created a few chances. They just didn't have that cutting edge. But longer the game went on, quality started to show on Tottenham's side. Son comes off the bench. I think most of his goals have actually come off the bench this season, as opposed to when he starts. And obviously, there was a few changes there with Richarlison starting, still no goal for him. But as time goes on, the quality starts to speak for itself. And I was saying in the first half, West Ham need to take these chances because Tottenham have actually been more second half team this season than anything else. They've taken a while to get going. They've had slow starts. And then when you get into that second half, that's when Tottenham start to respond and they start to improve. And that's exactly what ended up happening.
When it comes to a 3-5-2, it's probably my most hated formation in football. I really hate this.
It always leaves some sort of disjointed.
Yeah,
It's always a disjoint.
Okay, granted,
like it anyway.
you're very compact here.
Yeah.
But what you've also got is an incredible amount of work for an individual to do there.
Yeah.
And there. And there. You're basically saying, can the two strikers please, make something happen? By the way, wing backs, can you cover the whole flanks? Because we're really worried about what's happening in field. Now, the one thing I'll say, this exact formation, not with West Ham, but with Brentford, took a point off Arsenal. Not only took a point off Arsenal being stubborn and resilient, yeah, they conceded a goal, but actually created a load of chances as well.
Yeah.
The Mbemo, it's actually quite similar. Mbemo, Bowen, similar profiles of player. Antonio Tony would have done a similar job in terms of hold up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was inspiration for Moyes. I don't know. And Soufal and Emerson, we know that they can be good as wing backs. So I don't think it's the end of the world that he went with this. I think West Ham's biggest problem is that I just feel like I think David Moyes is a good manager, but sometimes things just run its course. And I think that they're just uninspired now. I would look at that 11, forget whether it can work. Brentford are doing it from a position on the up with Thomas Frank, having rotated between back fours and back threes.
They're very direct as well.
Right, and they play to those strengths.
Yeah.
Here, West Ham, I just think it's totally uninspiring.
They're caught in between two.
Is Paqueta injured?
Yeah, I think so.
All
they're
right,
caught
well,
in between two minds. But Fornals could have maybe started. But Ben Rama is another one. Where was he?
Yeah.
Because he's another one that's been at least some sort of chance creator for them. I
Yeah.
feel like with West Ham, they're caught in between two minds. Do they keep the ball? Do they play with the football? Do they try and play this certain West Ham way brand of football, which a lot of their signings would have gone towards? You would have said that Skamaka and a Paqueta and a Cornet and all these guys should be playing with the ball on the ground and should be playing a decent standard of football. Or does Moyes do what he knows, which is play pretty unattractive brand of football, a lot more direct, a little bit more like maybe a Brentford, who even they can knock it about when they want to, but they do know when to go long from the goal kicks, etc. And I think there's just a mismatch there. And I think that all started for me when they made those new signings and they didn't scream Moyes. They screamed like a different West Ham, a Poch kind of purchase, if you will.
I hear you. Well, we'll see how West Ham do for the rest of the season. I'm not going to bore you with the Arsenal stuff. Do you want me to recreate Jorginho's?
No, I'm all right.
No? All right, we'll leave it there.
That hurt. We all know what happened.
Big moment.
Mm.
Oh, well,
He's never done that for. I've never seen him do that for us.
What, strike from distance?
Yeah, I mean, one time against Fulham, I think.
It's a good strike.
It was.
Well, the Hemi Martinez helped him by nodding it into the back of the net.
Celebration was nice as well.
Great header. Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
You know what? He needed that, Jorginho.
Yeah, I didn't.
All right, we'll leave it there. Obviously, a lot of the video has been dominated by the Chelsea chat, but I think we're going to have shows like this sometimes where, look, Arsenal got back to winning ways, well done. City dropped points but missed a load of chances. I don't know if there's much that's that tactically fascinating. And when you look at Chelsea and the squad that they've been left with, sure, we're not so much looking at the tactics front. When you look at the different formations, the amount of players used, it all comes into what is delivered on the pitch. And I think trying to analyse or understand where things have gone wrong from that perspective, I think the show owed it to, what it is we're trying to do here, to look at that. And Graham Potter's got his problems. So let me ask you just very quickly, to round it off, I'm going to give you, if 100% of the blame were to be divided, how much of it is on ownership and structure above? How much of it is on Graham Potter?
And how much of it is on the players?
Go on, feel free to chuck a third section there with the players.
I think it's tough because I think the board, it's tough. It's tough. I think I'd just give everybody 33.3%. I think
if that's what it is, then you don't sack Potter.
I think Potter's made mistakes. He's definitely made mistakes. I think the board have made some mistakes in the first window, but you can understand why when they've come in last gasp, ownership change with no networking and no contacts in the footballing world. And the players, they are clearly making mistakes as well in terms of their quality and their lack of finishing when we are creating opportunities in other matches, not this one. Although we, at some points they had some chances in this one as well. So I think everybody's got to share it. It's a group.
If it really is shared between all of them, in my opinion, you don't sack Potter. If it's a case of I believe the ownership have done their thing and they've brought in the players he wanted, they've backed him, and the players are being played out of position, and it's not their fault. They're being rotated. We have injuries, and it really is all on Potter or 50% plus. Then you make the change. So we'll let you decide in the comment section, what do you think happens with Graham Potter now? He's got the vote of confidence, I believe. Is that right? We had a vote of confidence, didn't we?
Massive vote of confidence.
So sometimes that can actually be a dark, moment for a manager, but because we know what happens after that. But it looks like they're backing him. Let's see what happens. Let me know. Do you think Chelsea have made the right decision? Do you think Potter is the right man to take Chelsea forward? Where are the problems there? And what do you make of West Ham, David Moyes' approach to the team, Rashford, the form he's in? Does he deserve to be in the conversation with some of the best in Europe? We'll let you decide in the comments. We'll leave it there. Big thanks. Many thanks, Matisse. I know it's a painful one, but always a pleasure. Yeah. I know, but always a pleasure. Actually trying to make sense of it. Yeah. And hope you guys have enjoyed it. We'll catch you on the next one.
On Wednesday, the 22nd of February, we are doing a special stream over on AFTV, a 12-hour stream to raise money for the Turkey-Syria earthquake appeal. You would have seen the horrific scenes and seen the amount of people that have passed away because of that earthquake. And we're coming together as a football community to raise funds. Special 12-hour stream. You're gonna have all your presenters from AFTV. We've also got guest presenters. We're gonna be doing a Best of Enemies special on there. And
I'm box office, main event, genetically jacked, athletically stacked, half man, half amazing, modern day Mac, and I'm coming onto the Ops channel for Turkey and Syria. Forget these wastes, man. I'm doing it for Turkey and Syria. I'll be there like the Jackson 5. Josh knows for a great cause, and I'm telling you, bruv, I hope you lot can join me.
I was just about to say, and I might bring you on.
Yeah?
No, he's on, man. We're going to be doing a Best of Enemies special, like you said.
100%.
There's also going to be loads of other shows on it. 12 hours, we're raising money. Make sure you check out the GoFundMe page as well. Over on the AFTV YouTube channel. Can't wait. Join us Wednesday, the 22nd, from 12 till 12. It's going to be big.
And big up all the influencers getting involved, doing it for the cause for Turkey and Syria. I'm telling you, everything goes to charity and goes for the cause with them. You get me? Certain man might be doing it for a hairline, but I'm not one of them. Gang business.